Hi. Hello, everybody. We had a little mic mute excitement. Welcome to the Saturday Salon, part of Centaur Theatre's online conversations. I'm really excited to be able to welcome Jackie Maxwell as my guest today to talk about Paradise Lost, not only the play, but the reality that we're all living in this COVID moment. So, hey, Jackie, how are you?
Hi, Eda. I'm fine. I had a little technical moment, but apart from that, I'm good.
Excellent, excellent. It's so fun to be able to have a little chance to talk to you in the midst of all of this madness. We were both at Shaw when it all started, so we would go on those long socially distanced walks and try to parse what was happening. But it's interesting to think about how long we've actually known each other. It's
Oh my gosh, it's ages.
ages
Yeah.
and ages. And I remember that when I was at the theater school and you took on the Herculean task of directing the New Works Festival there with new playwrights, new actors, new everybody. And I was so impressed with the way you were, calm under fire. And I thought, oh my God, I really want to work with her. I want to learn from her. And so you were about to direct Michel-Marc Bouchard's English language premiere of Orphan Muses at the Centaur. And I said, Jackie, I want to be your assistant. Can I be your assistant? And to this day, I keep thinking, what was she thinking? What kind of a weirdo would just come up and go, hi, I think I should be your assistant. Was I annoying?
I remember. No, not at. I was thrilled because I remember actually that was a very good class. Your directing class at NTS. It was Chris Abraham, you, Danielle Irvine, Sarah Phillips, and I liked you all, but you hadn't assisted me. I think it was Chris maybe, but I remember kind of enjoying the times that we had kind of chatted or whatever. So when you said that, and it's always. I don't know. Sometimes, directing is a little bit lonely, as they say. You can sort of sit there going, I don't know, is this any good? Or so I was thrilled to have a voice and an eye that, of course, through the rehearsals, I became more and more reliant on and respected. So. No, I think it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
It really was for me. I was so lucky. I was so lucky, and it was really fun. It was a beautiful production. I remember the set was made of sand. It was a completely sand set, and then just a skeleton of a house and these beautiful dresses hanging down.
The dresses hanging down. I remember that really well. Yeah. And I think it was, even though I'd worked with Michel-Marc and Linda, actually, in fact, I brought them together at Factory Theatre for Linda to start translating Michel-Marc's work in this little translation thing I was doing with Maureen Labonte. But it was the first play of his I had ever directed.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
There they are.
And the other thing I remember that I just loved was you used the music of Lhasa de Sala as the music for the show. And it was so beautiful. And a fun cat. It was really, I was over the moon. It was really great.
It was fun.
So, yeah. Well, and that's it. I want to talk a little bit about the fact that you are kind of the doyenne of new Canadian plays. I mean, you have been through Factory and Shaw and your own just independent work. You've led the charge for how many independent new Canadian plays have you actually brought to the stage?
Well, you'd mentioned this to me a while ago that you might ask me this. So I tried to do a little bit of research. I mean, memory not, necessarily going to give me the right answer. But it's very hard because there's no real archives around or anything like that. But I would say probably between about 40 and 50.
Wow.
Which is sort of, I was a bit taken aback when I got to that number.
But it's amazing when you think about the arc of Canadian theater and its evolution as in the country. It's fantastic. It's really exciting, and that I guess part of that is your connection with Bob White at Stratford. You and he have a long time history together, don't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'd started when I came to Canada, which I was, a 21-year-old, mouthy chick, and I'd got myself the job at the National Arts Centre. But then after that, I had met Bob, and he called me and asked me if I'd like to come and be his associate at Factory.
Wow.
I think they'd got a grant. That was the
Oh, hang on. Hang on. I can't hear you. I'm just gonna check with Vanessa, our backstage person. Can you hear me? You can't hear me. We've not hearing Jackie, but are you hearing me, Vanessa? So hang on 1 second. Okay, so they can hear me. Can you hear me, Jackie? You can't hear me, right? Technology. So hang on for 1 second while Vanessa tries to figure you out. Try talking now, Jackie. Oh, let's go to some photos while Vanessa works on that. Oh, I hear something. Say something, Jackie. Can you hear me? No, she can't hear me. So let's first, this is what we're actually here to talk about, is the wonderful production of Paradise Lost that we brought from the Stratford Festival that Jackie helmed at Stratford. And also, not only did she helm the production, but she was also part of the process of bringing the play ready to the stage as a dramaturg. And there's Lucy Peacock on her way to heaven to answer for her crime of giving the apple to Eve. There's Julie Tamiko Manning and...
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? Let's see, what is this?
Can you bring up my iPad, Val?
Oh. There's, this is Gabriel Lemire as the Son of God. And this was so wonderful. I loved watching his free, he was the picture of innocence in this. And above him is our wonderful, oh my God, it's God. It's the only person, Marcel Jeanin, who could be God. And he was God in the best possible way. So then I guess that what we can talk about as I wait for our technical difficulties to be taken care of is to talk about how what's wonderful about Jackie for me, and is the fact that she took me under her wing in a kind of like just unmitigatedly. She just said, yes, I will expect to help you out. And so I was able to not only witness her work, but also witness her as an artistic director when I was the associate at Shaw, and watch how she was able to put art first in every decision that she made. And that for me has always been what is exciting. Oh, there she's back again. And can you hear me now, Jackie? Can you hear me? Oh, no, I don't think she can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. I hear you. I was able to not only witness her work, but also witness her as an artistic director when I was the associate at Shaw. There we go. Watch how she was able to put art first in every decision that she made.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh, there she's back again.
Yes.
Oh.
And can you hear me now, Jackie?
I can hear you. No, you can't take that iPad away. I can hear you.
She can.
But can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. I hear you.
Okay. So I'm going to have to listen to you on one iPad and speak through mine.
Okay. That sounds good. Well, why don't we go from here? I wanted to ask you about... I wanted to ask you about creating Paradise Lost at Stratford.
You can't take that iPad away. You're on a lag. But can you hear me? Yes.
Okay.
I think the thing is, Eda, we're on a lag.
Oh, okay.
You can't have these two going at the same time.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you perfectly.
I'm going to have to listen to you on one iPad. Okay, take us away. Speak through mine. Okay. That sounds good. Well,
now, I think we're good. Can you hear me? Just you don't hear me? Hilarious.
Why don't I just talk about it? I can hear what it... Val, You can't sit on the stairs, okay? Okay. So, yeah, the interesting thing was I'd done a show at Stratford the year before, The Changeling, like totally different kind of show, of course. And I got a call from Anthony just out of the blue, about a year, sort of. I could tell he was in planning mode, and he called me and he said, "I want to know if you'd be interested in directing Milton." And I said, maybe. I was a little taken aback. He said, Milton's Paradise Lost. And then, of course, he added, he said, it's a new adaptation by Erin. So I went, well, yes, that sounds very interesting. And he said that, in fact, she had been commissioned to do this, and I think she was maybe on her second draft, and they'd done a reading, and Bob White was the dramaturge. And so I would be taking it on, sort of basically, if I did it, kind of in the September leading right up to when we were going to start doing it, which would be the next year. So I love Erin's work, and I love Bob. It was kind of like a dream project in that sense. I immediately started reading Paradise Lost. I thought probably could be a good idea. And then I put together kind of my dream creative team, which you all got to see in
beautiful
at the Centaur, with Bonnie Beecher's beautiful lights, who worked so well with Jude Bowden, who did the sets and costumes. And you have to realize that here was the first stage direction in the script. It still is it says, this play takes place in the space between heaven and hell, like, period. So you sort of go, well, okay. And yeah, there you can see now, that is the first when the demons and Satan, who have been, hurled down to hell, come back. We see them and sort of stagger their way out of the burning. And then here we have them as the angels later, who are about to fight the demons. So as you can see, and look, here we have, of course, our beautiful Adam and Eve in what we call the nuditards, which they wore. So it was, and Thomas Ryder Payne's sound. I mean, and Val Moore's choreography and movement, of course, who there they are, and that first day at Centaur. That's Val and Judith. And so we really, I have to say, even though it was very brain bending, it was just a joy to work on, because the language is so brilliant. And we knew it was always Lucy was the one given, Lucy Peacock, which was, of course, fabulous. And then, we just slowly put it together casting wise. And we laughed a lot, I have to say. I mean, because it is very funny, and sometimes so crazy. But slowly but surely, this piece that is so tonally disparate, we slowly put it together. And it was an enormous success, which I was so happy about, because I really didn't have a clue what it would, how it would go. I loved it. We loved it. But you know what that's like, Eda. We could all love it. Not every.
Well,
I was very pleased. And then I would say so moved and excited when you talked to me about bringing it to the Centaur in a sort of in a newer, much of it the same version, but with the idea of putting Montreal actors into it, which I just loved.
Yes, it was great to have the band of angels that come from here in Montreal, and it was wonderful to be able to invite that many of our local actors to our stage, because we don't often get to put that many people on stage. And so I was so thrilled to have everybody, and it's just a great community of folks to watch. So now, Jackie, are you hearing me now? No, you're not hearing me. So, okay. So,
I'm here.
Oh, yeah. The next question I was going to ask you, I'm going
to get the thing again. Val.
Okay. I can type it to you. So for the people listening, what I was going to ask you was the fact that it was 6 months ago that you, yes, 6 months ago we were doing this, and now COVID happened. What does it feel like now? So before versus now. What does it feel like now? So before versus now. Like, yeah.
Well, it's very interesting. Well, I went through an interesting experience, as did you, when I'd been working for 2 weeks on a play at the Shaw, Playboy of the Western World, a play that I absolutely love, and I had a great cast, and suddenly we were just working on it as one does. We had lots of time. I was doing nice, being nice and slow and really luxuriating in it. And then suddenly, whammo, we were Zoom rehearsing. And as you know, I was a little skeptical about the notion of Zoom rehearsing at first. But in fact, there is a lot you can do on Zoom when you're rehearsing. You can do text work and character work and scene work. But I was thinking about this actually just recently, that the other thing that I realized you could do, or I only really realized once I'd finished it, because we're not doing it any longer, because it really is only so far you can go, but is, and that text, sometimes I think we don't give text time. And text and movement, of course, has to come together. But sometimes we get into moving it around and trying things and do it so early that I was surprised at the power that the piece had, even when we just did it on Zoom.
Yeah.
We did a read through, and it started to make me think about, when we go ahead, when we look forward, what is it going to mean? And how will we put on a play? And in the near future, or maybe the far future. And I started to think that there is something that we can think about in terms of the natural tension that is in pieces of theater. So, for example, I've done a fair bit of Chekhov, which I love. And Chekhov has a natural tension. And you could, in fact, could you distance Chekhov? I think you probably could. I think, in other words, I'm not saying that every play would work socially distantly, but I think that you could convey the world and the inner tension and the structure and the meaning of a play in a less naturalistic and ergo less physically connected way. I'm not sure about this. I've just been thinking about it, but there's no doubt that we're going to have to look at different ways of making these pieces work. And I think sometimes, maybe at the very least, we will be able to actually have a sense of, if a pause really works, then why can't a pause work distantly? What is it, sort of. So I don't know. I'm trying to play with all of the assumptions that I've ever made, basically, in directing a piece or working on a piece, and go, what if you took away that one big part of it?
It's fascinating. It's really, it's a really important question, the way you've just talked about that. And it talks about old plays, but going forward, then what do you think of the next kind of, like, since you've been the shepherd of so many new plays, what new plays do we need going forward? So can you see that question? Yeah.
Well, what plays do we need going forward? Well, if you want to be very pragmatic, as I read, and I think it was the Globe and Mail today, they said what we need going forward are plays without intermissions. Well, okay, I guess that'll solve one problem with the bathrooms. I don't know. I think that we're going to need plays that are brave in the questions they ask.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we will have to have pieces that allow. I don't personally want everything to be technological. I don't want to see every play in squares myself. I've already seen quite a few. But I think that, as I say, if we had to find a way of revisiting our own dramaturgy and going, okay, take away the things that we rely on and start again, I think that we would find that I would be attracted to plays that make you ask a question about how you even ask it, or how you even ask it. How do I actually ask this question on stage?
Mm-hmm.
How do I don't, I'm not personally very interested in a lot of COVID stories. You know, I mean, we have them, we live them, we see them, we all look at the news. I shout at CBC endlessly. But that's what I think. And that's a very unformed thought, but I was thinking about it the other day in terms of my reading, because I read a lot. And I'm someone that's very, because I'm very, you know, I'm an alpha organizer. It's very, this whole thing is a very strange place for me to be in. I mean, I know you really have a whole theater to organize. I just have myself now, thank goodness. But I realize that I have to look at my reading and realize that some of the reading that has meant most to me as a theater artist is not necessarily the reading that has been specific to the play. Or, for example, I did a play called Junk last year in DC, a brilliant play about a man called Michael Milliken, who essentially led the way to the 2008 crash. And the book that I read, I mean, I had to read everything like, you know, Big Business for Dummies, you know, Capital Financing for, I didn't even know what a hostile bloody takeover was. But the book was a book called The Unwinding of America by George Packer, which was essentially showing how community in America has essentially eroded down to the notion that finance is what is the only currency. And that book meant such a lot to me when I read it, but it also dropped in for me in a human way, that I was able to direct the play, I think, in a, rather than just relying on the actual details of, you know, the plot. And I think that it's something to do with that, is that we're going to have to be less on the money all the time. You know, that maybe we just have to allow ourselves to kind of float a little bit more, to actually go into a process with a piece that doesn't necessarily, I mean, in a way, it's a little bit like Paradise Lost, in the sense that, you know, here's a play that happens between heaven and hell. Go.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what we have to start being a bit braver in how we take on a play. Mm-hmm. And to go with pieces of work that, you know, it's very, I remember, you know, again, a play by Danielle Denis that I did was literally, you know, 47 pages of poetry with one stage direction, and called Stone and Ashes, that I loved. And I think the 14 people who saw it at Factory really liked it too. You liked it. But that's what I mean, I think we're going to have to really allow ourselves to sort of flail about a bit, and hope that the flailing, if it's done with true heart, will be of interest. I don't want people to watch just bad flailing. But do you know what I mean?
I do, absolutely, yes. And if you could hear me, I think that what's important and right about that is you're talking about asking the big questions as opposed to the little ones.
Oh, okay. And, so hold on,
know.
I'm going to get the Val. Can I have the iPad again?
So, because I think it's absolutely key that we let the world. The world has become so small through this crisis that when we come out of it, we need to ask ourselves the big questions.
I can't hear.
I'm not on it. I
got
rid of it.
But it's on the screen.
In a lag, it was lagging. Did a long time ago.
But that's what I was saying. Yes. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, we will all answer the little ones eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really believe that. I think that there's very fundamental things. There's lots of specific things, but I think it's an opportunity for us to ask some of the bigger ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I even think now of, you know, the changes in how we think about work, the work that I've developed over the years, you know, from the early days to now. I continually had to change my dramaturgy. You know, you always have to. I've always believed you can only work. You can only work on a piece according to what the piece needs. Yeah. We're actually saying that if somebody comes along and says, "These are my thoughts. This is my poetry that has come out of this. This is my heart on a platter at this point in this moment." Maybe that's interesting. Maybe that's something that we need to explore and find a way of playing with.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Or not. I don't know.
Well,
but I'm willing to go there.
I love that image of it's putting our heart on a platter. The heart on a platter. That to me is absolutely.
Yeah, it is about heart.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that that's what plays and theater does, actually. That I'll tell you after what I'm saying. But I think we'll stop. We'll call
I like the typing.
Yeah.
That was helpful.
Yes, exactly. So Vanessa, type to Jackie that we're going to end on this beautiful note of heart on a platter, because
Thanks, Eda.
Oh, thank you, Jackie.
This will definitely go down. If the many crazy conversations you and I have had, this is definitely the craziest, for sure.
It's true.
Thank you.
But
good luck.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for joining us.